This video is just to help you with your assignment year 12, and I want to walk you through just how to put in your break-even graphs using GeoGebra, and I'll use GeoGebra online because I know a lot of you are using that. If you need help with anything else, please let me know. So here's my first one. I am running a business, and my business is I'm making corsages, and I've got 3 different types. I've got a rose, orchid, and a succulent. Succulent, my favorite. And basically what I've done here is I've taken that, that task sheet I gave you with all the steps in it. I made all the steps blue so I can cross them out as I do them. So I haven't done my introduction part, and haven't explained my ideas yet, but I've gone through and done sections, and anything I've done, I've just crossed out. I haven't deleted them. That is because I wanted you to be able to see what I have done so far, but you can delete them as you go. Remember, use the checklist. This is really handy for you. I haven't explained the location of my business. In fact, I think I have. I can cross that out. But anyway, done some research. Here's my corsage styles, my costs of what I'm going to sell them at. Then under the heading variable cost and selling price, it asks me to decide on the break even of my product. I need variable costs. So I went online and did some research. Here's all the stuff I need to make my corsages. I worked out some prices. Some of them, to be honest, I made up, but I'll reference a couple of pages from the internet to say this is where I got my information from. I actually went on some florist sites, so I'll reference those because that helped me decide on my selling costs and helped me get ideas. So I broke down all the prices, what I needed, and these are my variable costs. Now the next step says fixed costs. There's a list of some fixed costs that you need, and work out a cost per month. So I've done that here. I've talked about how I'm going to have an online business, but I'm also going to work out of a florist, and I'm going to use a florist when they're not using it, like some sort of florist share kind of scheme. Anyway, that's beside the point at the moment. There's my fixed costs for the month. And now we're up to break even, and I've just read a little blurb about what the break even is. Now I'm going to come up with my 2 equations, and you should really give the equations before you use them. They're my 2 equations, and that's basically from the textbook page 181 when we're doing break-even analysis. And now I've used the table that was given in the sheet that I've given you to use, and it says insert your graphs of each item. So they're the next things I want to cross out, and there's 3 graphs in total. So I'm going to do my rows first, and I got the information from here. So the total expenses is the fixed cost, the variable cost, and there's a variable cost for rows. And X represents, I wrote it up here, X represents the number of corsages sold. So yours will be different, whatever you're selling. Total revenue for the rose corsage is $39. And over here you can see there's my first one. So I'm going to go and do the second one now and show you how to do it step by step. So I'm going to leave my graph over where it was, and I'm just going to do corsage number 2, and I'm going to insert my equations. So if you are in Word, you should really try and use this insert equation. Now, if you don't have that, what you can do is when you do a file save, because I had this issue, when you do a save as and decide, put it in your maths folder, when you save it, you might have an old version of Word there. So you might have this one here, which is what I initially had. If you save it to this version, you'll be able to access equation. Right, so I'm going to insert an equation, and so I want to do my total expenses. So I'm just typing it in. I'm just using the keyboard, equals, and the fixed costs don't change, plus, now the variable cost for the orchid is $22.54. And then I'm not going to put in a times, I'm just going to type in an X from the keyboard, put a gap in, and then press enter. And then I'm going to do the same again. I can even use this one. I could copy and paste it. I'm not going to do that though. The revenue is $65 each, so 65x Right there, my equations, and they're the two equations I now want to put into GeoGebra. Okay, so I've just opened up GeoGebra online, and I'm not sure what kind of screen you'll have, and some of you already used it, but in case you have this screen, here's your menu. And so I need to open, I want a new file, and this is where I do my typing. So I want to type in my two equations, and you can type y is equal to, but you don't need to, so I'm going to do 1615 plus 22.54 and just x, right? Enter, and then the second one is 65x. And now they're drawn on there, but you can't see them, so you have to move around a little bit. I'm going to zoom out. Okay, here we go. Here's my graph. And then we go on the screen and drag it around a little bit. Can't see my axes. Go to settings. There's my axes. So let's drag it around a bit more. I need that point of intersection, which is up really high. Okay, so I've got to try and find it. So I'm shrinking again. So I'm just using two fingers on the trackpad and bringing them towards each other. Now, I need to make this look a little bit better. So it goes up really high before it hits the break even, and goes up to y is equal to about, I'm going to go to 3000, but the x doesn't even go out to 200. So let's just set this up a bit nicer. If I go into settings and in the basic, I'm going to do x is as small as, I'll do -50, because I don't really care about the negatives, because obviously money is positive and number of items is. X max, I'll go to 3000. But I put this -50 in just so I can see the axes. And the same with the y. Actually, I think I just marked that up. I just want x to go to 200. And I'll make this go to 3000. Usually when you click off it, it shows you, so you can see what I'm seeing on the screen. That looks heaps better. Close it. And then I'll move it around a little bit, just so I can see just the corner of this. Now that's nice, I can see it on the screen. I want to move it to the middle of the screen. So here I can see that x is about 40, so just going to quickly just have another play with that again. X max, let's go up to 50. There we go. Just going to drag it a bit more. Alright, so let's do labeling. Right click on there, hit settings. Now I want to see a name and a value, and also so you can see it puts the graph on. Now that is the expenses graph, so I'm going to rename that as expenses, because that's the running cost of the business. You can see fixed and variable costs. And then I just click back on the screen. I'm going to repeat that process for this one. It's already written in there. Why? Oh, it's not showing. Right, so I've typed it in there already. Show name and value. Oh, it's down off the screen. So you can drag them around a little bit. And move them around just so that they're a bit easier to read, but you are limited to how far, because they're attached. Now I need this break-even point, so where they cross over. Now I go into some of the features of GeoGebra is put on a point. Now if you hover, I see you got function, you got revenue, but I want when I'll get both of them, because that's a point of intersection. Click on there, right click, and go to settings and put the name on that as well. And move it around so it's easy to read. Then you need to turn this off. Don't be like me and put little dots everywhere. Alright, I'm back to the cursor and then back to my equations. So you can see all the information down here as well. I just want to point something out. If you don't want to see something you've accidentally put a point on or something, if you click on these, you can hide stuff. Next thing I want to show you is just how to put a heading on. Let me find it again. If you scroll down, you can put some text on, and I don't want help. I'm just going to go up here and click. And this is my break even, and it's for the orchid corsage. So you can do that, and you can just move that around. That's a bit small now, so I think what I want to do, here's my text, and I can go into settings and I can have a bit of a play around with it. So I think when I did it last time, I changed the size. No, I reckon I changed the font. No, I didn't. It's still using the same font. I did that. I think I did bold. You can make it bigger. You can play around with the colors. I'm not wasting my time with that, to be honest. And you can drag that around. So I'm pretty much done with this, and I just want to think about putting it into my assignment. So think about where I put my heading. I'm going to just drag this axis over a bit. I'm not overly happy with that, but that will do now. All right, Snipping Tool, or however you want to do that. I prefer Snipping Tool. I don't really want that in there, so I'm going to try and avoid it where possible. Make sure when you look at what you've got inside there, make sure everything's in there nicely. And I encourage you to save your snips, which I think most of you are doing. Save them to your maths folder. So I'm currently in my maths folder, and there's my break even for rows. Give them good labels so you can find them again. And then I'm going to copy and paste it in. And I'm going to play around with my editing a little bit later, because right now editing is not my priority, because everything moves every time I change something. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. However, I do notice, oh no, that's fine. I really want them readable, so I'm going to try and make that a little bit bigger. It's going to be easier to read when it's printed off, into a hard copy. All right. So just going back to GeoGebra quickly, I encourage you to save a copy, so when you go back in GeoGebra, you've got this ready to edit, not just your snips. So up here, hey, so I just had a bit of a go at trying to save, and it's not that straightforward. So in the end, I went and just signed in and made myself an account. I didn't really give them a whole lot of details, just my initials and where I was and an email account. And so now what I can do here is I can sign in and then save and then have all my images. So I encourage you to perhaps sign up first. So I might have to put that as a little precursor. All right, so anyway, there's an example of how to do one. Go and do 3 of those, put them in, and see how you go. If you have questions, you can contact me. All right, good luck, you guys.